Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
On today's Going In Raw news brief, we talk the possible end of Rusev Day and the WWE adding another pay-per-view to its schedule. But first, we're going to talk about just how much money the WWE is making, and I have a feeling it's a lot. Larson, what's in the news?
So WWE held their Quarter 2 2020 financial call today, and the company is basically swimming in money like Vince is Scrooge McDuck at this point.
Oh, wow.
Swimming in vast pools of wealth.
Dobloons.
So first, the lone bit of bad news to WWE was that their revenues were down for the quarter by about 14%, dropping to $223 million this year as opposed to $269 million last year. But everything else up. Operating income rose from 17.1 last year to $55.7 million in Q2 2020.
Wow.
Adjusted operating income before depreciation and what does the A stand for?
Amortization.
That's what it was. Went from $34.6 million last year to $73.5 this year.
Ooh.
Million, not $73.5, $73.5 million. Net income reached $43.8 million, while adjusted net income was $37.7 million. WWE explained the growth in income as being, quote, primarily due to a decline in operating expenses that reflected lower content-related production and event costs, short-term cost reductions implemented as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak, and to a lesser extent, a year-over-year reduction in accrued management incentive compensation. So they cut payroll. They didn't give executives much bonus money, and they're not running shows apart from TV tapings.
Yeah.
And that has apparently saved them a ton of money.
WWE also stated that, quote, these actions contributed to WWE's enhanced liquidity, which reached $548 million in cash and short-term investments as of June 30th, 2020. Because of this enhanced liquidity, the company announced that management may resume its opportunistic acquisition of stock under the company's $500 million share repurchase program, subject to WWE's business outlook and liquidity, as well as whether share repurchases compare favorably to other blah, blah, bunch of money stuff. Listen, why is Rey Mysterio not getting a raise again? Huh?
Yeah, why do they have to lay off why do they have to release a bunch of wrestlers and furlough a bunch of producers and lay off a bunch of writers and other employees?
What can't you afford? You can't afford stuff?
Yeah.
Balls. You can't afford stuff.
Yeah, it's BS. It's a load of BS. Meltzer had a tweet about this financial stuff, and it said like the expectations from financial analysts was somewhere between $11.5 and $12 million, and it was actually a first profits. It was actually $43.8 million in profit.
Yeah. Well, Vince is a pretty good businessman. I've been reading that book, Death of the Territories.
Yeah,
it's fascinating because it charts his path, like in the super early '80s, just going from literally taking business meetings to territory, taking it all in. Yeah, I mean, pandemic has been an interesting thing business-wise, sort of across the globe, basically. The ratings situation, the TV situation, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, we're still 3 years away from them maybe negotiating for new deals. We'll see how it plays out then. Ratings are in the toilet. Creative is not great. And they have some competition on Wednesday nights that's only going to get bigger and bigger. So yeah, we'll see how this works. I mean, Vince McMahon has gone through up periods, down periods. He's making money hand over fist right now. Does it translate to a better product? No. But, there's
a couple things that potentially stand out here. I mean, we touched on it a bit about the releases that happened back in April. As far as I believe, WWE is the only major wrestling company that cut staff, cut wrestlers during the midst of the pandemic. Ring of Honor hasn't, Impact hasn't, AEW hasn't. I understand WWE is the only publicly traded company of them all.
It's not even close in terms of the scale of company, though.
It isn't, but also when for the second consecutive quarter, they have they're bringing in record numbers of money. It's just, I don't know. It gets me a little bit. It irritates me a little bit. Like it didn't laying off those wrestlers, laying off those writers didn't feel then, and it certainly doesn't feel now like an essential move to preserve anything more than a certain level of profitability for stockholders. And from a business perspective, I get that, but at the same time, these are people who had to go out there and a great many of them, in terms of the wrestlers, landed on their feet. But the idea that you get laid off in the middle of a pandemic, so much is unknown. Will you be able to get work, after your no compete clause is up? From a human perspective, it's crap. It's a load of crap.
I wonder if this level of profitability is going to affect how they do things after pandemic when they can't.
I wondered that too. What does this mean for their live event schedule going forward? It was already a money loser prior to pandemic. Are they going to seriously cut back the number of live events they do on an annual basis? If so, how is that going to affect compensation for wrestlers? Because there's a downside guarantee attached to most deals. My understanding of that downside guarantee is tied to a certain number of dates worked.
Mm-hmm. So, I wonder if it's going to be a matter of we're going to start seeing, I guess, two classes of wrestler. I mean, we already sort of saw that WWE started to become okay with people. Obviously it is during pandemic. Like you said, most of the wrestlers have landed on their feet. We're about to talk about one who might not want to land, or landed on a different foot rather. But the wrestlers that are true attractions are going to attract the big money. The ones that aren't considered big attractions, at least not yet, are going to attract a significantly smaller amount of money. I'm not sure. I don't know what the breakdown is in AEW in terms of, like, we know the EVPs are doing pretty well. We know Mox and Jericho are doing pretty well. I don't know how much a Peter Avalon gets paid. I'm not sure how much even like a Sammy Guevara is getting paid. I don't know those things.
I don't know either.
So yeah, I don't know. I wonder how much of their business is going to be affected. Would they consider creating their own WWE zone, a place where they shoot, that is, like the Performance Center? They erect a building, or maybe even use a Performance Center, move that someplace else. I don't know. They erect a place or buy a warehouse or whatever. And if there is a large enough base of fans in that one area, I mean, kind of like Full Sail is, but maybe a bit more razzle dazzle, that you could house a Raw or a SmackDown that houses 1,000 people. Would they consider shooting there live 26 weeks out of the year instead of going on the road and doing it that way?
I don't know how much of this enhanced profitability, because of how they've adjusted their production slate, is going to influence what they do after, if at all. Vince is a man who in a lot of ways seems very set in his ways. And you take your business on the road if you're a wrestling company, especially in the old days, because ticket revenue is probably the primary driver of income.
I'm glad you mentioned the old days, because part of that book actually mentioned, because I'm sort of getting to this part where they're talking about like TV deals and stuff, and how back in the 50s, TV companies would shell out tons of money for wrestling content. When the ratings went down, they cut it, and the reverse happened. Vince McMahon was paying. He was paying
TV time.
I think KCAL Channel 9, or what became Channel 9 in Los Angeles, something like $1,700 a week, which at that point was a pretty big boon for KCAL. But that was a very small price to pay for him, because he made all of his money at the live gate.
Live events, yes. And now we're basically, the way WB is constructed now, he makes all his money off TV deals.
It's the exact opposite, yeah.
What if there's no financial incentive to take the show on the road, we could very well see, apart from pay-per-views, I still think pay-per-views will be on the road, will be in various locations. We might see a return of sorts to kind of studio wrestling, where I doubt it'll be 100 people in the crowd. If they could find or construct a place that can house between 2,000 and 5,000 fans, and they could fill it on a regular basis.
Even if you fill 1,000, that looks pretty good on TV. I mean, especially the thing about like 1,000 or even like 2,000 is that you pack them in. If you're putting on a good product, obviously, if you're loosening up your product a little bit, and they're, a hot crowd, then that can look really good. If you watch some of the Impact Zone stuff, when they had really killer matches, now that I'm doing the Impact streams on Tuesday and they do those flashbacks to promote their streaming service, you see those crowds were hot for big angles. They really were. They weren't packing more than 1,000 people. I mean, for their pay-per-view, sometimes they were, but their regular TV shows, you'd get like 1,000 people in there. You get the right angle, the right stars. They will make noise, and the acoustics in a smaller place like that are probably great.
Amplify, yeah. I guess it depends if Vince wants the spectacle of the basketball arena.
He might,
when shot from the right angles, looking full.
Give it. I mean, given his ego, you're right. That might be something that he's not into at all. He wants to be able to say, "I go from town to town, from territory to territory." And we draw these people. But if you look at the pictures, pre-pandemic of their live shows, and then when they would run, when they'd run live shows against TV or against like a pay-per-view, it was like an Elks Club meeting. It was tiny.
I never understood why they
never understood that either.
That aspect of the business model in the face of running against themselves.
If you put a venue like that, let's say in Philadelphia, you have the entire Eastern Seaboard there within a decent amount.
2-hour train trip.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah. You could pack people there, and Definitely. If you put that on TV, I mean, they did that Raw. What was it, Raw 25 or whatever from the Hammerstein? I don't know if you'd want to do that because that looked sort of podunk, but if you doll up a place, make it look cool.
Yeah. Anyways, it still sucks. They laid all those people off. It really sucks.
That's business, man.
I mean, nonetheless, just human beings, man. You got to considering what's all going on in the world. I know it's easy to say it's just business, but in the midst of a pandemic to lay people off, that sucks. Anyway, speaking of someone who was laid off back in April by WWE, Miro, wrestler formerly known as Rusev, was asked on a recent Twitch stream if he was done wrestling or he may head back to WWE, and based on his response, we may have seen the last of Rusev or Miro Day in the wrestling ring. This is what he said, transcripts from Fightful. He says, I'm done, man. I'm just enjoying my Twitch. I'm a professional Twitcher, YouTuber, content creator. We got competition now via Miro.
I view this as a potential collaborative opportunity, Larson.
Same here. I was being sarcastic about competition. Miro's great. Let's do a video, Miro.
Yeah. Hey, Miro, let's do a video. We're professional YouTubers and Twitch streamers. We've got 583 subs. Anyway, I think this is BS anyways. He's going to head to Impact or something. He's not going to be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if the right deal comes along, he'd probably, he'd have to consider going
I'm
back
saying he's already signed the deal. I think that the COVID thing prevented him from doing whatever he had planned on doing. I think he's literally saying this because he's already signed a deal and he wants some misdirection. Expect him on your TVs or Tuesday night Twitch streams sooner than later, but that's cool. I do think it's pretty awesome that, even WWE wrestlers who are still contracted there, like Ember Moon, for example, she goes on her Twitch and she breaks down matches or she talks about current storylines. She was very critical of the way they handled Kairi Sane's send-off. And she makes some waves. People will go and they'll watch her do whatever craft project she's doing or whatever video game she's doing. This is a whole new avenue, a whole new venue. But the thing about it is, it's kind of like if you're not out there in the wrestling world to attract people further to your Twitch stream or your YouTube channel, then that audience, you're running the risk anyways of having that audience drop off because you're not remaining relevant in the world that they want to know about.
Entirely possible.
Yes, Miro may really enjoy the Twitch, and CJ, his lovely wife, the ravishing non-Russian Lana, They seem to have a really good time doing it. And maybe they are the types that can have the audience because, number one, he's so charming, and obviously she has quite the appeal. Maybe he could do that. But I honestly think that he's probably already signed somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, this is, how many times we say when a wrestler says something, usually just...
That's my rule of thumb. Whatever they say, just go the opposite direction.
Yeah. Speaking of something that's going the opposite direction, usually when WWE books a pay-per-view, they wait several weeks before they book the next one. And we heard rumblings that there might be something going on the weekend after SummerSlam, but not, we didn't know any specifics. Well, WrestleVotes is providing some specifics via a tweet not that long ago. Steve, what is this tweet?
So the tweet is this. For whatever reason, WWE has added an additional pay-per-view of the schedule 1 week after SummerSlam. Payback will take place August 30th. Backlash was the one after Mania.
Yeah, that was the one that had the greatest match ever.
Payback.
So,
we had heard that there was a possibility.
There was like a network special. There was some hope that it might be Evolution 2, but just another pay-per-view the week after.
I would suggest this, though.
SummerSlam.
It is possible that this is going to be... There's got to be some... I'll put it this way. There's got to be some catch here. They're not going to do SummerSlam and then a Raw, NXT, and a SmackDown, or I guess just a Raw and a SmackDown, to build to just another regular show. There is going to be a catch here of some sort.
Obviously.
I don't know what it is, but there's going to be something here.
Yeah. Yeah, not sure what, though.
Let's see here. So the original Payback event was originally expected to return in 2018 because the last one was in 2017. Did we go to that one? No.
There's one in San Jose, right?
San Jose, yeah.
Yeah, we were there for that.
Did we? Yeah, we went to that.
That's when we were like fourth row right towards the hard cam.
Okay.
That was a fun day.
Yeah, that was fun. It says it was expected to return in 2018 as a SmackDown branded event. However, the event was taken off the WWE's pay-per-view lineup as all events after WrestleMania 34 became dual branded. And evidently it might be coming back. It might be just a placeholder name for whatever they plan to do, though. Yeah. Anyways, good stuff. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you want to see Rusev back in action in the ring, or would you just prefer to see him on Twitch and on YouTube, which is a perfectly fine route if you wanted to do that. Do you guys want another pay-per-view the week after SummerSlam?
Seems like a lot.
As two men who are required to cover it, kind of wish they'd wait a couple weeks.
Same.
But whatever. Anyways, more content for us, Larson. Yay. Because that's what we are, man. We're
content creators, YouTubers, Twitch streamers.
Yeah. Anyways,
Miro, let's collaborate, Miro.
Do you want to see Miro collaborate with Going In Raw? Of course you do. Who doesn't? Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time. Oh, tonight, speaking of that, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, Unsolved Mysteries. Me and the Enforcer are going to solve some more mysteries. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.